it's me, EL, columnist here at Blackout Magazine, and I have an amazing guest with me today. You guys are gonna want to tap in and love this conversation. So let's get started. Hey, Vanessa, can you introduce yourself to my peoples?
Hey, my name is Vanessa. I am co-creator of called BlackLine, and my pronouns are she, her, they.
All right. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. Um and and I'm excited because like I did a deep dive into what Call Blackline does and I was like in awe. I hadn't heard of the service before, so I was like, wow, where has this been that I didn't know it was here? So I'm excited. Let's see. My first question is so we're gonna go back, then we're gonna go forward.
Okay.
So I read something where you mentioned that your activism started at a young age, like partly influenced by your mother, a survivor of domestic violence, and your uncle who was openly gay. How did those how did those early conversations shape your understanding of violence, love, and community care?
Oh, wow. It's just where I was raised at, and I know people want to say integration, but I was raised in Rockland County, New York, in a town called Spring Valley, and everybody kind of looked. There were some white families when we moved into a house, but then those white families left and the community became blacker and browner. And my mom, who was a bank manager, who got punished for being a bank manager, because my mother, back in the day, they would like when you had a bad check or, check bounce, there's a fee. And my mother would protect the black folks who were banking at her bank because she's a black woman. My mother was always penalized for that, but she never gave up on the black community. She always challenged her bosses, like, we don't need to charge this fee to these folks. And so I learned from my mom what it means to be community, and my dad even what it means to be community. My mom actually, I tell people all the time, my mom beat eminent domain in Rockland County. Literally, they want to cut in front of our house, and she went to court, and we won eminent domain. And I always tell people that was amazing to me because nowadays, this country, this government will take your land and be like eminent domain, and I'm like, my mom beat that. And then I had an uncle, whole life growing up, Uncle Terry, who was gay. He was out queer, and so to me, it was always natural to have LGBTQ folks around me in my community, rocking with us. And back then, I had trans friends, but the word trans was not a word because of where how everything evolves. And when I think back on it, these folks were trans, and so but we always hung out together. I'm gonna say this, fought together and supported each other. So community has always been important to me, always.
I love it. Let me see. Early in your career, you worked in the foster care system and noticed the stark racial disparities in how children were removed from their homes. You referred to it as family policing. How did that experience catalog your shift towards broader systematic activism?
Yeah, those it was 11 years of being we call caseworker, social worker, whatever you want to call it. And we our children were placed from New York City. And I always noticed, why is it like it's four of us and all the children who come into care, I kept asking, are black or brown? And people kept giving me answers. Oh, they're neglecting their children. And I'm like, the cases I have is about poverty. All these moms and these dads are poor. Their kids are in care because they're poor, not because of anything they have done. You will neglect your child if you don't have food, right? They're labeled it neglect. I can't afford food. My benefits run out. I don't have, and I don't have money. Now I did have parents who were addicted to drugs. Not gonna lie about that. But they did everything they could to get their kids back. Family policing, that system makes them jump through hoops. I was just like, why is it that my person has to do four things, right? These are people who are struggling, and you want them to do four things like at once immediately in 6 months. I'm like, come on now. And so that made me, when that program shut down, right, because of mismanagement of funds. Thank you, white people who run shit. Um, when it shut down, right, I was just like, I don't even want to stay because I had been there a little longer and they were slowly going to close us out. But I was like, nah, I'll go now because it was so difficult to just navigate CPS, in which was New York City ACSW right now, which what I think is called. But it was like large and huge, and I was like, y'all are pulling all these children who look like me because of poverty or domestic violence. Like she can't even protect herself. How you expect her to protect the children? So it became a thing where I kept questioning and kept getting these um false, like, well, I said, so poor white people don't abuse their kids, poor white people don't. But
Right.
my 11 years of being in foster being running being in the foster care system, we only had one white family, one out of 11 years. That tells you how this system is, how that system runs.
Wow. That is that. Wow. That is crazy. Da, da. All right. So let's talk about how Black Lines was called Black Lines was born. Um um you said called Black Lines was born out of a freedom ride to Ferguson in 2014 after the murder of Mike Brown. Can you take us back to that time, to that ride in the moment, the idea, how the idea formulated for you?
Yeah, we were actually on our way back. We had been in Ferguson, meeting with the folks, organizing, standing with them in solidarity after the murder of Mike Brown. And on the way back, I do believe, I remember this, while we were riding back to New York, because it was the metropolitan area, was folks from Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. On the ride back, I think three black people had got shot. One of them might have been John Crawford. I'm not sure about the time frame, but three. So somebody in the bus said, "Damn, black people need a hotline because this stuff is getting real." And when I came back, it was like, But I started a BLM chapter in Hudson Valley, so I was kind of focused on that and organizing in Newburgh. Outside of the five boroughs, have the highest per capita crime rate. So it's a city, a lot of poor people, messed up politicians, you know how that roll. And so I was focusing on BLM, but then I got together with some of our queer folks who are also part of BLM, and we decided to let's create a hotline. We actually were rapid responding at first, right? We wanted to, because there had been a few black people in Newburgh who had been shot who were having mental wellness issues. So we were responding, but then we were like, it's kind of rough because we don't. You need a lot of people. You need people. Really, I'm gonna be honest with you. You need white people downstairs to stop the cops from coming, from intervening, because cops are never the vehicle when somebody's having a mental health crisis. I'm gonna put that. Police can say whatever they want. They're not. And so we were like, since it's an 800 number and I'm getting calls from everywhere, I said, let's just make, focus on being a hotline. And that's how Call Black Line was started, with a bunch of queer black folks, who wanted to, and some comrades, some white comrades helped to create Call Black Line. And so that's why I tell people, people like, you're the co-founder. And I'm like, we don't find nothing. Normally stuff is, people already have an idea. So I feel like I'm more of a co-creator than a founder. When people call me, I'm like, I ain't find nothing. Y'all always be colonizing stuff. I ain't find it. We create it together. So, people love that co-founder. You ain't find that because somewhere, somebody thought of the same thing. So I'm like, okay. So I'm always like we co-creators, right? So,
I love it.
right? I hate when I see co-founder. I'm like, what they find? You ain't find that. Like,
I love that. Y'all might have to use that, like, for real. Writing that down.
yeah.
Oh my
So,
god.
right? So like, remember that. Like I tell people all the time, I've co-found something. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let you rock with that. No. But yeah, so, and it was some dope people. We created it, and it's like you said, it has evolved. Every time. me and my crew, I call us a crew. Every time I hear of something happening, I'll create something else. I'll be like, well, let's try this. And they'd be like, really, Vanessa? We out here trying to do the hotline. You want to do this, I'm going to do that. Because I feel like, for our people, we need a lot of stuff. We need support. We need to do something different. You need to create this. So I'm always thinking about the people, our people, what it means just to navigate being Black in the United States.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth, boy? One of the strictest rules of call black lines is that you never call the police, even in cases of suicidal ideation. For many traditional clinicians, this is radical departure from standard protocol. Why is this non approach non negotiable for you?
When we were creating it, we were asking the community what is it they need, and one thing that the community said is we don't want police contact, and so we stand firm on no police contact. I mean, we have people who call who are having suicidal ideations. I've had people call who were suicide. I had a woman who was literally on the ledge, and I really, because we don't have a time limit. A lot of hotlines, warm lines have time limits, 10 minutes, half an hour. We don't have a time limit. I literally was on this phone with this sister for like 2 hours, and she was able to take her foot off the railing, sit down, and we had a conversation. And my thing is about self determination for people too. I don't think, a lot of times people be like, oh, we need to call the police and get them out there quick. But I'm like, this is about people's choice, right? How they
Right.
choose to live their life. And we really won't, we don't deal with any carceral systems, because be real clear about Vanessa. I don't like none of them. Correction officer, probation, I don't like none of y'all. That's just how I roll doing this work. Y'all ain't usually nice to Black folks, even if you talk about you serving them. You don't serve us. You actually are harming us in so many ways. And I'm gonna talk to the government. Start reinvesting money into the community. Some of these police budgets are larger than most cities, counties. That's the largest thing on your budget. How could that be? How
Right.
can that makes no sense to me? Reinvest that money into communities. Law and order for who? So
Right.
we are non-carceral. We stand by that. But funny thing is 988 sends people to us. So let's talk about 988. 988 got all that money from the government, and literally Black people are calling and be like, I want to talk to somebody Black, and they be like, ooh, call BlackLine. Call Black, 988. You could have broke us up a piece of that money.
Could have.
I'm just saying.
Hey, cut the people in now. Cut the people in. We gonna do the work. We need to get the money. You know.
Yeah. Hello. So and so that's why we are we don't even suicidal ideations. And a lot of clinicians understand our stance, right? They
Hmm.
understand that we have youth who call. I don't want police kicking in the youth's door, because that's going to traumatize them even more. So, and also every Black woman I've ever talked to who had involuntary 72-hour hold has said nothing good ever came from that hold. So we talk a lot of times. Black, we connect as Blackness, as queerness, and then folks feel better. I've had a woman who was 9 months pregnant. She literally called me back a few months, and I heard the baby crying, and she was suicidal when I spoke to her, and I was dancing as fast as I can when I was talking to her for like 3 hours, and she called me back, and I could hear the baby, and she said, your hotline saved my life and my child's life, and we're not looking for that. We want to be here when the people need to talk about what it means just to be, even like we have Indigenous call, we have Latin people call, just to be a marginalized person in this country. And those calls since this new administration have picked up threefold. We can't even answer half the calls because of how much people are afraid. People are, living in communities where white people just feel emboldened to use the N word now. So the calls have increased so much.
Yeah, I could. Whew, man. Yeah, and to your point, like, if people have been paying attention in the last couple years, even before this last election, if you look at the number of people of color that have been harmed when they have called or someone has called the police in for their protection to end up harmed or unalived, the numbers are insane.
Insane.
I'm like, how do I call you for help and I end up dead? Like, what are we doing for real? You know? And so I definitely, man. Um, you said everything that we do should be for love and care of the people. How does this philosophy translate into the day to day operations of Call Black Lives?
We don't care, we don't care who calls, right? We cool with who calls, right? However, like, I have to teach my folks because we all come with some stuff, right? We come with, we come with that they trifling, they whatever. But
Yeah.
my thing, you know how we do. But my thing is that we have to love up on each other. I know that the babies who call us, and I'm calling babies because I'm older now. The babies who call her in their teens, etc. We love up on them. We tell them that they are valuable to us. I know America don't tell them that, but we like to tell them that. And so the love and care for our folks has always been tantamount. Even when I was doing BLM, I meet some black people hard to deal with. They can be challenging, and that's
Right.
just human nature.
Right.
But I never stopped loving my people. From a young age, I've always been taught that we all we got. And so, we teach that. And Tanya, she works with sex workers in Las Vegas, giving them support and stuff. And she was the one who coined that phrase. And I was like, I love that because she works with homeless people. And when you work with homeless people, you're working with so many things, some drug addiction and all kinds of stuff. And I tell people all the time, I ain't gonna be upset about somebody using drugs as homeless because I can imagine what it's like to navigate being homeless, a woman, queer. And so Tanya was the one who said, Vanessa, we got to be able to love up on our people no matter what. And so I learned from my crew that helps me run this because I learned so many different things even from them because I'm an old head and I come sometime with some, oh God, she tried for them, like, ooh, I should have said that. I gotta learn, so I learned from folks all around me about my people and how we have to just care for our folks, and that's one of the things. And I always tell people I was more blessed because I was born through the Say It Loud and Black and the Proud movement. So I'm like, listen, nothing wrong with black people that get rid of racism with help anyway, So I love just my people. I've always have, I always have.
Call Black Line handles a wide range of calls, including people experiencing negative consumer interactions or being followed. Why is it important to hold space for these everyday experiences of racism and discrimination rather than just mental health emergencies?
A lot of times people call, they have clinicians, but when they call, the clinician doesn't understand, right? Because most of the time it's white. We do have a link for melanated clinicians, right? But if they're not in your area and you're rural or whatever, you're not gonna have access to a black clinician. And so the way we do it is that we want people to be able to call us just to talk about how you navigate it. And sometimes that could be a mental health crisis for you. Like, I tell people all the time, being stopped in a store and questioned is traumatic. I don't think people realize that. Or because
Yes,
I've had it done to me.
me too.
And people gonna call the police because you won't leave, and you as a black person want to stand your ground and say you were wrong, right? But we know if a cop come, it's gonna be not gonna be cool. So the way we put it in was like we got to make sure that we are able to talk about even how consumers, as black consumers, we deal with this madness. I have black kids who call me and say, white kids are using the N word. Now let's be real clear. We're not really an advocacy program, but I will call a school in a minute for a baby. I will call the school in a minute and say, why are you allowing white people to walk around using the N word? Like, I will in a minute call the school. So that thing I will do. And so what we wanted to do with our app was drop pins, right, on, areas that are not safe for black people, but the creators of it couldn't figure it out. So we don't do that. But what I do is I have a list and I'll tell black people certain stores not to shop at and certain stores to shop at. So
The
we
Green
want,
Book.
yep. So we wanted people to like report talk about what it means to be asked to leave a store for no reason, what it means to be stopped on a regular basis by police because you walking while black, or you are three young black men, you know, three deep, that means cops are coming, right? We know that it's black people. Oh, it's three black people, especially black men. Let's call the police, right? So we want people to be able to talk about that because we hold on to so much stuff as black people, you know, and people, oh, they're resilient. I don't know about that resiliency. I think that we are magical, but we get hurt and we carry hurt, and sometimes that hurt comes out in a way that will impact us negatively, not because of what we're doing, but because this country deems it as negative. This country deems it as criminal. This country deems it as their danger to the society. Meanwhile, you don't like us no how, and so we want to be that space where people can call, and I mean talk about anything.
Wow.
Well, we don't be like, oh, I don't want to talk about that prom dress you brought. We talk about everything. You can talk to us about anything.
I love it.
Even seniors call who are lonely, and we talk to this. And you know, I'm a senior, I'm an elder myself. I'm owning it, and we talk to them. You know, they lonely. People out here don't have a lot of connections. Cost us media, by the way, too. And we encourage people to get with your tribe, find your tribe, and don't be so insulated. You know, this country wants us to be insulated so we can watch their propaganda on TV about how horrible we are. Mm. And then we, you know, we encourage folks just take walks if you can in your community, because everybody can't take a walk in their community. You know, reach out to some folks. You know, don't just do social media. I tell people, Zoom people. You want to use our link because Call BlackLine got a link. Just use Zoom. We want people to have, you know, black people, we need human contact. We are a social people, you know, where we come from, and so just to be isolated, not cool. And it's not good for our mental health as well.
I like that. I like that. Some Zoom some people.
Yeah.
I might have to Zoom some people later this week. You like, hey, I'm busy.
Yep.
Can't be in physical contact with all my friends and family and stuff. But we can Zoom. We can check in.
That's right.
I
Because
like.
capitalism got us. Okay, capitalism got us fucked up. Because the way capitalism work, we got to work. We
Yeah.
got to work to keep a roof over our head, else we will not survive. So we have just become these working drones, right? And
Yeah.
we don't have time to connect with our people who we love, who will love us, right? And
Yeah.
so I tell people, Zoom people, Zoom is cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. You just fed into me right there, boy. I tell you. Uh, do 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 do. Can you explain the safe passage strategy?
This happened when Tanya, who's dealing with who support our sex workers in Vegas, and let's be real clear about Vegas. There has been 11 sex workers who have been found dead, killed in Vegas on the West Side, and ain't nothing made the news. Like that's 11. You know, 11 people is a lot within a year and a half. That's a lot of people. And so, the way we started doing it is like when trans women are walking or whatever, what we say safe passage is that you can call. We'll stay in the line with you until you get home. But then a trans sister contacted me, was like, Vanessa, I was in an Uber and I felt uncomfortable. So I said, okay, we're gonna add the Uber and the taxi ride too. And they call, we stay on the phone, and what we want them to do if they feel unsafe is act like you kind of talking to police, even though we don't like the police, but some people will respond. Act like you talking to them. Um, give if you can give locations in case something happens, then we're hoping that safe passages will reduce those deaths of black women, trans women, women in general, right? If you want to call, and safe passage is wants to be that forum to get them into the house or get them to their destination safer, because it ain't safe out here. You know, folks are targeting, especially if you trans, they targeting black trans women. You know, if you a woman, you get targeted too. And as a black woman, forget it. Nobody know you get hit beside the head with a brick and people will laugh. So we want folks to get home safe, get to their destination safe. So safe passage became that tool, because I had a woman one time, she was trans, And I enjoyed talking to her, like, act like you're the police. She was doing real good, and she was able to get in her house and get safe. And what we do is we stay on the phone until you're safe somewhere, and then we will disconnect. And Safe Passage really was created for Black trans women, but we will talk to any women who call. You know, people always, the new trick with the government is to call and ask if we only let Black, brown, and indigenous people use call BlackLine. We talk to everybody. Even if you white, we will talk to you. Now we might not give you as much time as a Black person, only because every other hotline is for y'all. Right? I tell white folks that in a minute. But because we really want to center Blackness, we really want to center our marginalized folks. And so we will talk to anybody, but we just want to make sure that people are able to at least get home, or we have a hand in that, because I can't imagine 11 folks literally being killed. Nobody says anything, nobody investigates, and all of them, we're like questioning all of them are drugged. They
Right.
saying they OD.
All of them, just every last one of them, right?
Come
Yeah,
on now.
right.
That ain't true. But that's why I say passage is a thing. The girls will even call and be like, "Hey, Tanya gave me this number, and I'm not feeling safe." So that's what safe passage is about. Is for folks, especially Black trans women, get home safe, get to your destination safe.
Yo, I love it. Like as a Black trans man, there are some spaces that I enter, especially since I'm not necessarily um that my that um I'm not gender assumed when you see me.
Yeah.
Although most of my friends say I am, but I don't think so. Because in a lot of spaces I end up being misgendered. I have to correct people and stuff like that. And so in a lot of spaces that I go into, especially spaces where I have to affirm myself and let people know, no, that's not you misgender me, or that's not proper my proper pronoun, then I feel unsafe in certain spaces. And like something like this, yo, I could be like, hey, so I'm feeling unsafe in this area, and so yeah, could you talk to me until I'm out of this area? That's dope, man. That's whew, that made me feel something.
I'm glad.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's an amazing thing because, like you say, people don't understand. Like, a lot of people think, well, I mean, you corrected the people, so I don't understand why you feel unsafe in this
Sure.
in this space. Like I already felt unsafe when I walked in because I'm Black. Now I really feel unsafe,
That's
and
right.
now I feel unsafe, in a lot of situations that you would be like, well, you should feel safe because you with other Black people, and those spaces ain't always the safest spaces.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Once you correct people on who you are, then those spaces become unsafe. And so it's like, well, where exactly am I safe at?
That's right.
You know? You recently launched the Stop and Frisk Crisis counseling program for youth of color. What specific trauma informed practices do you use to support young people who have just experienced harassment by law enforcement?
Yeah, that program was asked us from Black mothers. They were like, I have my child won't even talk about what happened. And so our once again, our youth, just like us, will hold that stuff, right? When you see video after video just being stopped, but not arrested, but let go, I keep telling people that is traumatic to our children, right? That ain't normal. White kids don't live like that. That ain't nobody in their community stopping them and frisking them. I don't care what community. It could be a poor, because I raised my kids in a manufactured home park, and they were poor white kids. So let's be real clear. But the cops was not repping them like they were my kids. So I know what happened. And so when they asked, I was like, when I ran Rape Crisis, and sometimes just short term crisis counseling could help. And what we allow this space to do is we are validating their feelings. We're validating the rage that some of these kids are holding, right? And what we want them to do is talk about that rage, so that I wish our kids could be our kids when they're in the streets. I really do. because I know how we were. We were ripping and running and doing some bad stuff. Okay, but the cops didn't mess with us back then, right? I want our kids to be able to do that. But unfortunately, right now in these days and times, they can't. And so what we want to do is give them a space to just rage about it, to validate, but also give them some kind of tools, right? Like we do mindfulness practice, etc. I'm the one who does it because I did the whole crisis counseling. That's part of what my degree was in. And so I'm the one who does it. A lot of times the kids will tap out around 3 months. The average time has actually been 3 months where they say, I feel so much better, that I feel heard. Because the parents love their kids. We love our kids. But you're the mom, you're the dad, and sometimes you just don't understand because then the kids will talk about other stuff like my mom want me to do this, but I don't want to do it. So we allow them just to be able to just talk their truth, speak their truth, talk about their teachers who I'm real clear when kids say a teacher's white supremacist. I ain't never gonna be like, no, they ain't. Yeah, you right, they is. And so we just want to validate and support and support them in that so that their truth is not like watered down or like saying, "Now that didn't happen." That's not how that is. So with me, I allow them that space. And I worked in McQuaid's for 3 years, and McQuaid's was an alternative to jail. So I worked with some I'd say incredible youth, right? They were incredible, but when you even talk to them, they wind up in that locked facility because of minor infractions, right? But they got a criminal case, right? I'm like, literally, this is alternative to jail. You would send this 12-year-old to jail if you could, really. And so, by being working with them, I learned that these kids are brilliant. Our kids are brilliant. Our kids have so much creativity, but we
Yes.
get squashed in some of these traditional. I'm gonna say this again: white supremacist ways of dealing with our children, how they teach our kids, etc. And so this stop and frisk is for us just to validate what happened, validate that it was wrong, that nobody should be, because everybody keeps saying, oh, they ended stop and frisk in New York City. No, they haven't. Now you're just stopping us, harassing us, and
Yeah.
people will be like, it's no longer there. Yeah, it's still there. Cops do our kids any kind of way on a regular basis. So we want to be able to just to provide a space and hold a space for them to talk about their feelings so that that rage don't hit the streets. Because when that rage hit the streets, our babies be acting up. They be wild.
Ooh.
And I don't get mad at it, but I be like, I don't want them to get shot.
Right. And I feel like it's the whole setup type of deal. Like we gonna make sure that there are no places for you to express yourself. We gonna even in the way in which we teach you in these schools in these climates. Like I'm a follower of Malcolm, right? Before and after the Mecca, and that whole thing about how do you depend on someone who hates you to teach your children. You know what I'm saying? And so then we start teaching. They start teaching our children oppression. So they oppressed, and so then when they begin to act out, right? Then you point back and say, see, this is why you oppressed because you don't know how to behave. But the way in which I treated you made you frustrated and angry, and so the only way that you could respond, because no other way worked for you to respond about how you felt, right? And we're not even gonna try to teach you how to communicate any other way. So when you respond in the way that you was taught, then something wrong with you.
Yep. Did. Yep. And I'm real clear. I tell people all the time, I'm so glad my kids is not in school because my kids told me I was violent when they was in school. I was Malcolm before Mecca when they went to a predominantly white school. And my ass was up in there every day almost telling people, I'm not that peaceful black person. I'll mess that teacher up. But so they was like, listen, you stop bothering her children but every day I had to fight because they thought my kids were lesser than. My kids were brilliant. My daughter was brilliant. She didn't even need to study. But then you talking about she ain't gonna be an AP. What? So I get it, and I know from my children. Now, back in the day, my mom was very different. My mom was like the teacher. You gotta be respectful teacher. And I used to tell her, you went to a segregated school. Everybody looked like you. So I get being respectful to them. But you want me to be respectful to white teachers who is killing my soul, killing my soul. So I want these kids, and I'm telling you, these teachers are killing our kids' soul. They're killing their soul. If we don't get more black teachers up in these schools, our kids, I don't know if they're gonna make it. I know they will make it, but they might not make it with this kind of education, like this traditional education, because these teachers are killing our kids' soul. So it even comes, we do the stop and frisk, we talking about what happened. These kids were always just supposed, and let me tell you about my teacher, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And I let them too. I let them because they ain't lying. Are all they ain't lying. They telling their truth, and this is a
True.
that crisis counseling is truth telling. Tell your truth. I'm not, I don't go back and tell your parents unless you tell me you want me to. I don't tell anybody. This is a safe space, and it's really to create a safe space just to be and talk about. I've had young brothers cry because at the time they stood firm when the cop was messing with them, but their inside was teared up. So they get online and they literally just break down and be like, I was so afraid they were going to shoot me and kill me. That's the fear they hold because we know they do kill babies. They killed Tamir Rice. That's a
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
That's a baby. Don't no nobody tell me nothing else. That's a baby. You killed the baby. So they know they've seen these, when BLM was big and huge, they've seen all these people who were killed by police. So they know. And so
Yeah.
I've heard there's you could just that crying that I could tell some brothers, young brothers cry, that they ain't never had that kind of cry in their life. It just their soul, you can just feel it in their soul how hurt it was, how hurt and afraid they were.
Yeah. I Man, listen. I like people don't understand. Like when you see them lights turn on behind you, the first thing I do is it. And one day I was so scared because I usually put my wallet in the cup holder so that if I'm stopped, I can say I'm reaching for my wallet. Well, you can see me. The one day I forgot to put my wallet and I was so scared to reach into my pants pocket
Yep.
to get it. I was like, my wallet is in my pants pocket. I am reaching for my. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like everybody don't have to fear that.
Nope.
Everybody don't think that way. Oh, I'm just finna get a speeding ticket. That's not the thought process of the average black person when being stopped. I don't care what it's for.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? All right. Call BlackLine receives a staggering amount of hate calls. Sometimes hundreds during major political events. How do you and your volunteer listeners process and protect yourselves from the level of targeted vitriol?
So listen, so they had went down at one point, right? What they had because what we did, we put in place that now you have to announce yourself. And I tell black people, you don't gotta say your real name. We just want you to announce because a lot of times, um, hate people don't want to give their name. I don't know why. I'm like, if nobody cares, you could have said John, and we would have let you through. So,
Because most hate people is stupid. But go ahead.
so we, so that went down until Trump got into office, and now while they're announcing themselves, they'll say the N word or whatever. And so I've lost listeners because they said they didn't realize that level of hate, right? There's an N word song that they will sing. Okay.
Mm,
They, the B word, bitch, they like to use that. And so what we do is, I tell all my listeners, if you tired, you tapped out, it's too much. I'm not upset if you need to be out for, you don't need to be, answering for a week. I'm okay with that. Now, what good thing about it is we can block them. The system we have, they get blocked, they get sent to the block party, etc. So people will call my listeners to be like, "Hey, Vanessa, the last caller started out announcing herself with the N word." So I block it. Now Tanya, who I love dearly, who deals with our folks in Las Vegas, unfortunately, she like to curse them out, and I'm like, "Girl, you spending too much time with them people." But she just be like, "I don't care," I love her to death, but she is going to curse them out. And the funny part about it, but not funny, is that she cursed some man out. He actually called back because he want to talk to the supervisor. So she had already told me. I cursed him out. He gonna call, and he was upset that she cursed him out. And I was like, "But sir, what did you say to her? Like, what did you say?" Well, I used some derogatory, but she ain't supposed to curse me out because I'm the consumer. I said, "Oh, okay. So let me help you out. This is not run by the government. This is not your typical white not for profit." I said, "This is a black owned, black run organization." So I'm appalled that you would even call after you use the N word to file a complaint about what she did. I was like, come on now. So it was just funny and the caucasity of calling and wanting a reporter. I was like, dang, you called. Tanya said he called the N, nigga bitch. I was like, what?
Wow. Wow.
So she, commenced the curtain. He was like, she ain't supposed to do that. I'm the customer. I was like, yeah, you ain't the customer with this one now. You get the right one now. I said, ain't no such thing as the customer's right on call BlackLine. So they call. And since Trump has come into place, they call because they're trying to see if we will allow white people through. And because, as you know, he goes after they go after folks who don't allow white folks, right? And I'm real clear. I can't tell on the phone. Well, I'm pretty good at telling on the phone if somebody's white or black when I call. I am. I'm pretty good at it. A lot of times though, my listeners can't tell. So I said, if you could talk to whoever you want. Most of the time as you're talking to people, they'll identify. I'm black. They'll identify, oh, I'm Asian. Oh, I'm white. They'll identify themselves. But I tell my folks, you can't tell sometime by somebody's voice if they're white or black. So we don't have this, are you white? Oh, I'm hanging out. We just be like, oh, okay. And we just keep on talking, So, um, but the hate callers, Jesus Christ. How much time? And even if they don't get through, they'll leave a long voicemail.
Wow.
I mean, I got a page of voicemail one time, just a page, and whatever they were saying, the system would bleep out the N word, but they leave a whole ass voicemail because the problem is if you put in BLM, we come up.
Mm.
For some reason, algorithm because BLM doesn't have a phone number. The network BLM they don't have a phone number, so a lot of times I know that these people also are looking for BLM to curse them out, and they get us.
Mm. That's crazy.
And I didn't change the algorithms because I was working with a group of men, and they were like, if we take off the black Vanessa on the back end, you'll lose people who are looking for you, though. So I didn't take it out. But a lot
Right.
of times, they're looking for BLM.
Mm. So, in speaking about that, in 2022, you made the difficult decision to shut down the hotline for like 2 months for the volunteers and staff to heal. Right. What did it take for you to recognize that the pause was necessary, and what did the healing period look like?
Yeah, we took some time because some of my folks had lost people during COVID because we know it hit Black communities hard. But also, one of my persons who had been with us since inception, her son committed suicide. Yeah, he took his life, and so it was hard. And so we wanted to. These are folks who have been riding with us since its inception. So I was like, listen, and it was really my daughter. My daughter's an activist as well. She was like, Mom, sometimes we have to take time to heal. You have to. She says, okay, because I got so stressed. Oh my God, what are people going to do? She said, Mom, the people going to do what they've been doing. They're going to survive, Mom. It's okay. So I should, because every time, even um, if I get a bad, like somebody report, like says we're horrible, I rep one person. I found one time, right? And I mean, I harped on that for like a month. Oh my God, we got one. And they were people like, Vanessa, just one. Like, I mean, they probably got thousands of it. I was like, oh my God, what do we got to do? So I didn't want to like leave the people, but I knew we needed time to heal. So what happened is I went to New York and met with some of my folks who are repping me. So we just had like girls' night out. Um, I was able to rest because I've always been the one who's been like administering it kind of. So I got some rest. Still in the back of my head, I was a little worried. I was like, oh, but seeing how my people were able to rest and just decompress from all of this. Like I'm not real. I realized then how much it impacts folks, how much we take in, but we don't give it out. Right? I tell people we are a dumping ground, which I don't mind for Black people to just tell their truth. Right? But I forgot that when you dump in all that, we internalize that. So it was a good way for them to just decompress, shake up all that stuff. Um, and the little retreat that I said when I went to New York, it wasn't because you just we were drinking and laughing, but that's good too, right? That's some healing stuff, drinking and
Yeah,
laughing,
yeah.
right? So that was, and they always say that was a one of the best times, right? That's just being able to decompress. And that's why, even not like we have like no money. Nobody gives us money because we don't deal with the police. Um, but that's why, like me wanting to like ask people, like y'all need to donate. You can go on there and donate so that I can take them to a retreat, like a legitimate retreat where they can get maybe a massage, right? Let's do a massage or a spa day or something. So that's what I want to do because these folks I have some folks in the South who have, and the South people different too because they don't call it hate, call it hate, call. They be like they call it spam. And they're so calm. They'll be like, "Hey, Vanessa, spam on that last call." I'm like, "Spam? What?" And I said, "What happened?" "Oh, they use the N word." I'm like, that's not spam, right? It's okay. Like, I need to like, I want to like channel the South way how they do it. Like, they lay back, whatever,
Yes.
It's spam. I'm like, that ain't spam, but okay, thank you. So I make them say hate so I could log it because
Right.
spam is different than hate. But
Definitely.
they so easy going. It's just spam. I'm like, but maybe they hear it enough down there that it's just spam. I don't know. But
Man,
so it's
listen.
just, I want to be able to just bring us together more often because we're not together except on Zoom, and I like us to be, in a space chilling out together. So that's like one of my dreams, et cetera, is, to do that, So, but the hate calls have increased
Mm.
since you know who.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Woo, yeah. How many more years we got or hope we got?
Hello.
I'm telling you. And speaking of the difficulty of fundraising and securing grants and things like that, how do you navigate the financial survival of Call Black Line, and what does creative reparation look like to you?
Yeah, we don't a few times I've shut it down. Call time. I'm gonna shut it down, right? We ain't got no money. It's rough because I take my personal money sometimes just to put into the account to pay, to have the system, etc. Which like one thing we said when we created, it's gonna always be here as long as we can keep it here, right? So I'm not worried. Pay that bill so we can answer the calls. Cool. It's a struggle because I'm not when we created it, we recreated it, we put the cart before the horse,
Mm.
right? Nobody sat us down and was like, okay, you're going to create this program, but you're going to need, somebody to do your development. You're going to need somebody to do your marketing. So I have done some stuff, but I'm not a ask for money type of person because I feel like it's for us by us. So it's hard for me. And when you run a non for profit, you need somebody who will get that money, go for that money, do that money, and also folks want to get paid. But creative reparations is the reason you got contacted is that Jack, who was answering the phone, comrade, said, "Vanessa, what would you prefer me to do? Answer the phone and do some marketing to try to get people to know about you." Get some money to come in so that you can pay folks. And I was like, oh, I prefer you to do the marketing because I'm not good at it. So Jack now was doing the marketing for me, which I so appreciate. The website, which is beautiful, everybody who sees it says it's great. I didn't create it. A awesome comrade in New York, Gabe Berlin, created did the website, pays for the website every year. If I ask him to put changes, he does whatever I ask him to do because he said it's my duty as a white person to help y'all out. And so that's what creative reparations look for me is I tell white people, you don't always have to be the money behind it, right? How
Right.
about you help us? I need somebody to help us with development right now. Do I have somebody who don't mind begging for money? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we look at, we don't never tell white people they don't have a space. They do have a space. Is you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, Jack B was a listener only because Jack is queer and Jack he comes from the 988 type of, and he hates 988 and he says he loves call BlackLine. He said it's one of the best hotlines ever. So, but I prefer him to do the marketing now because I work a gig, right? I had to, after 2.5 years out, I had to go back to work. And so it's hard for me even to do write a grant do. And so I have a friend in New York, social justice initiative. She'll write some grants for me, etc. The thing with our grant writing, and I've had multiple people write grants, is that when you put in you don't deal with any carceral systems, folks kind of don't give you no grants. I'm like, oh, this is how we do it. Okay.
Right. Um, you express frustration with the fact that the United States does not embrace universal mental wellness or medical care. In the absence of state support, what does a fully realized community led care network look like to you?
We have a community led to me is I grew up with um community centers for youth. I grew up with that. We had a rap room, we had Tigers Den. So there were two spots we can go to. Both spots had counselors. We don't have that anymore. We need those, right? We need those in our communities for our youth, right? Just everyday Joe Schmoes who look like us, who, you come in and you could play basketball, you could I mean, we used to do crafts. I had so many keychains. Remember keychain lanyard keychain? I had many of those. Took
Yes.
right? Took us to music parks. We had that. So we need that in our communities. We also need more clinicians who look like us. And one thing about licensing in New York in the country, you don't need no licensing to talk to people. I know they have professionalized clinicians because they keep black people out. That's a tool too. I tell people, huh? Because we've been doing this when we was in Africa, right? So we need more of folks who look like us who are regular, just counselors, regular. You don't need to be licensed because now you got to be licensed. And I'm like, come on now. And so we need just where our community is whole. We need food, right? What does food look like, right? Right? Because some of these stores, Dollar Tree, all of y'all, that food's not good for us.
Absolutely not.
But literally in our communities, and literally that's where we shop. And so we need food, fresh, good food for our mental. And so it's a big network that would look great, right? If you want to do some drug treatment, right? We need all of that in our community where folks can walk to. We need to fix our public transportation infrastructure. People need to understand the reason why a lot of communities don't have it because white folks don't want it because they consider it poverty. Where other countries like Japan got the best metro systems going, right? So people can't even get to community college in a few states are free. But these youth can't even get there. How they gonna get there without a bus pass?
Right.
So it's that kind of thing that will make our community whole. But even in a community where people be like, "Oh, that's a bad community," I tell white people all the time, that's the most racist thing you can say when you're talking about people who look like me community. I say because I raised my kids in a predominantly white area, and I was more afraid than ever than being when we used to walk in Harlem. Just saying. Because
Yeah.
Bubba and them all got guns up in Orange County, New York. So it was a little like, stop saying that. Our communities are depressed because of policies created by this government. So it ain't like we don't want the best. We all want it. And that propaganda is out there. Black people don't want anything, really? And so it's just amazing that people say that because when we had our Tulsas, we burned it down. When we had our Rosewoods, you burned it down.
That's for sure.
So we need, I need us to know that this is not something that marginalized folks create. This is policy. This is state sanctioned policy. It's apartheid at its best. And so I just, our communities could be so much better if we had more, just a kind of one stop shopping. And let's be real clear, as Black people, we also need to be more neighborly. I know that we become more insular because of we don't trust people, whatever. But this is how we lived. We're family,
Yeah.
even if it ain't by blood. We're family. We're tribes. We have suffered almost. Most of us have suffered almost the same, and so our communities have to go back to loving on each other, sitting on the stoop, hanging out, chilling, And so that's what I want, and that's what I know for mental wellness. Because even the youth that we talk to in Stop and Frisk, they feel sometimes isolated because sometimes they're in communities where people don't look like them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's that whole big thing. Is that when we see each other, sometimes you're in a space and you're the one only, you see another Black people like, hey, you know, how you doing? Because we
Right.
know if something pop off, we gonna have each other's back. So
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? We need to go back to like how our communities are thriving. Our communities, we love on each other. We have block parties. We shut the street down, and have the barbecue. That's okay to do. Don't let the government tell you you can't do it. Hell no, you can do it. And so I just want us. That's how our healing begins. Because right now, you know, we, people can't even afford to go to therapy anyway. We encourage anybody who call BlackLine, if they can, go to therapy if they can, because I'm telling you, it ain't easy for somebody to go to therapy if you work 3 jobs.
That's the truth.
Can I'm tired, and so if you can go to therapy, if not, we here for you.
I love it. If you could speak directly to young Black organizers who are just starting out and feeling overwhelmed by the weight of systematic oppression, what advice or wisdom would you offer them?
you are you're doing enough. Like I think sometimes we our new organizers put a lot on us, on ourselves. You're doing enough. The work you're doing, and for me, I'm gonna let the young folks know. Not that I won't die anytime soon. My daughter tell me I gotta live some more, but I feel like I've met enough young organizers that if I pass today, I feel like the torch has been passed to them because they they know, they calling it out, they standing in these streets, boots on the ground, getting beat up, tased, whatever, um, and stay the course, right? And check in with your elders because I can't be on the streets anymore because of physical, you like everything that's falling apart. But check in and like be like talk to them and be like, how'd you do it this way? You ain't got to recreate the wheel. The wheel was created. Actually, the wheel was created during the civil rights movement. That will was created when we're getting whole dog sick on us. So stay the course. It's hard because this government knows that capitalism keeps us separated from the work sometimes because we gotta live. How do we eat? No, a lot of these social justice movements are not supported by anyone. Just the youth doing it. And so we understand that, but the fight continues, and we're fighting for the future. A lot of times I let people know boomers drop the ball too. We're just living our best ass life and forgetting that, oh shit, what about the future? We don't, a lot of us don't even realize how that climate is impacting us. A lot of us don't realize that without climate intervention, we ain't gonna be here much longer, no how. So it's that whole thing that when we was growing up, all the toxic chemicals was cool. It's not cool, and so I want them to know that we recognize that, and we here to help any way we can. I'm supporting my the folks that are younger here. We talk on a regular about what does it look like, what should they do, what are some of the things they should do. One thing I tell people all the time: go to your city council meetings because you're gonna hear some fuckery in there, and you need to respond to the fuckery.
Oh,
They
for
are
sure.
passing policies and laws in these smaller communities that you don't know nothing about till you get pulled over or messed up in it. So stay, I know I'm not a political person per se, but when I went to some city council meetings when I was doing BLM, I'm like, damn, they doing all that in here? And they're literally writing white supremacist policies. within those meetings. Even the people who look like us. That's why we need to go to hold folks we put in office accountable.
Yeah,
Fuck that money that they get.
for
And
real.
also, this movement is global. We have to look to other continents and Africa. We need to be. It's not just in the United States. White supremacy destroys everything globally. So don't just stay in the United States. Learn some stuff from Africa. There's some great organizers in Africa. There's some great organizers in Gaza. Like, we need to stay focused that this is global. This is not just insular to United States.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. This has been an awesome, awesome conversation. I learned a lot. You poured into me like I can't thank you enough. This was beautiful.
Thank you,
I'm
EL.
I'm glad I was the one who got the interview. I'm like, and I can't wait for the rest of the world to see this interview and tap in. Where can people that need the services, where can they find it?
Go to callblackline.com, and it's I always tell people there's a black line that's in California. Make sure you do call Blackline. It'll be Harriet Tubman on the front and us marching, taking the Tappan Zee Bridge, which is now the government Cornwall, but I don't recognize it because Tappan was a indigenous tribe. Tappan Zee Bridge, we was shutting that bridge down. So that's how you know it's called Blackline. If you're interested, want to volunteer, you can do an info and we'll reach back out to you. There's also a donate button at the bottom. If you can, please donate to keep this wonderful more online, whatever, and we do also other programs going because it's for us, by us, and this is always about the people, the loving care for the people.
I love it. I love it. And so you can volunteer and live anywhere and volunteer?
Yep.
Y'all heard that. And y'all can donate too. Y'all hit that donate button. It's for us, by us, and hey, we already discussed it. Things don't run on air. We need support in every way. Right? So y'all get to that. All right. So before we get out of here, I always end my I don't call them interview. I call them conversations. I always end my conversations with this. My sister once told me that words mean things. So, what word would you leave with the people, and why that word until the next time we see you?
Strength. Strength. We are a strong, beautiful, sometimes broken people, but we have always loved up on each other. That's what I know about us. So strength. We got it. We gonna survive. Listen, we gonna survive. We're gonna lose some people in this fight for our liberation. I know we are because we did it during we lost some during civil rights movement. But I want us to honor those folks who we have lost, even those who've been in ICE detentions, etc., killed by ICE. Um, but our strength, and this country's afraid of it, is gonna get us through. It's gonna get us on the other side. I believe that.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. Now, y'all do me a favor. Go to that website, donate, volunteer. Hey, if you need the services, y'all know what to do. All right. So, till the next time, y'all be easy. We'll talk to you later.